The Paoli Massacre, which occurred on the night of September 20th, 1777, remains one of the most chilling and infamous events of the American Revolution. Often remembered for its brutality and the horror experienced by Continental soldiers, the event was not a traditional set-piece battle, but a sudden, nighttime assault that left a deep psychological scar on the fledgling American army. While the term massacre has sometimes been debated by historians, there is no question that the engagement's silent approach, close-quarters violence, and the vulnerability of sleeping men gave it an enduring and eerie reputation. The event took place during the Philadelphia campaign, when General George Washington attempted to defend the American capital from British forces under General Sir William Howe. After suffering defeat at the Battle of Brandywine earlier in the month, Continental troops under General Anthony Wayne were positioned near the Paoli Tavern in Pennsylvania. Wayne's objective was to shadow the British Army, harass its rear, and look for opportunities to disrupt its supply lines. Unknown to Wayne, British intelligence had uncovered the location of his encampment. More dangerously, the British commander of the operation, Major General Charles Grey, was a skilled tactician willing to employ unconventional means. Grey ordered his troops to remove the flints from their muskets to prevent accidental gunfire, a decision that would make the attack terrifyingly quiet. This earned him the nickname No Flint Grey. Armed with bayonets, the British light infantry and supporting troops advanced on Wayne's camp shortly after midnight. For the Continental soldiers, many of whom were asleep or just rising for the night watch, the shock was overwhelming. Accounts describe the sudden eruption of shouting, steel glinting in the dark, and the chaos of soldiers scrambling in darkness without weapons in hand. Because the attack was conducted with bayonets rather than gunfire, the initial moments of the assault occurred with almost unnatural silence. Survivors later described hearing only the sounds of footsteps, muffled impacts, and brief, stifled cries. The darkness amplified the horror. Fires and lanterns cast confusing shadows. Some soldiers ran directly into enemy troops, while others fled into the woods without direction. The British attackers were trained for swift nighttime strikes and moved through tents and makeshift shelters with speed and discipline. Wayne attempted to rally his men, but the attack had already shattered the camp's organization. Dozens of Continental soldiers were killed, and many more were wounded or captured. In the aftermath, the battlefield presented a gruesome scene, with bodies found in positions suggesting they had been struck without time to defend themselves. The use of bayonets, the timing of the assault, and the vulnerability of the victims all contributed to contemporary claims that the British had acted with deliberate cruelty. American newspapers quickly labeled the event a massacre, accusing Grey's men of killing soldiers who attempted to surrender or who were already incapacitated. British sources countered that the nature of a nighttime bayonet assault inherently produced high casualties and confusion. Regardless of perspective, the emotional impact of the event on American morale was significant. It became a rallying cry, motivating troops who viewed Paoli as an example of British brutality and the harsh realities of war. The Paoli massacre also had important military consequences. While Wayne's reputation was briefly tarnished by accusations that he had been careless, he demanded and received a court-martial which acquitted him and restored his honor. More importantly, the event influenced how the Continental Army approached nighttime operations, camp security, and picket lines. Wayne himself would later orchestrate a notable nighttime assault at Stony Point in 1779, this time against British positions, where he used tactics similar to those employed at Paoli, but took care to avoid unnecessary bloodshed. Today, the Paoli massacre is remembered not only as a tactical incident in the struggle for Philadelphia, but also as a symbol of the Revolutionary War's darker and more unsettling side. It reveals that the conflict was not solely a series of noble battles fought in open fields, but also a brutal struggle marked by fear, confusion, and sudden violence. The eerie legacy of that night, when British soldiers moved like shadows through an American camp, continues to evoke the terror felt by those who were awakened not by musket fire, but by the cold shock of steel in the darkness.